Hey everybody, I hope you all are doing well and welcome back to Michael's Matters. Now, of course, as per usual, I am Michael, howdy. And over this last couple of months, and really since the beginning of the pandemic, it appears that the Social Security Administration has been grappling with having enough staff to be able to adequately service the millions of older Americans and folks on Social Security. Even to the point that at its peak, 80% of calls to the 1-800 line actually went unanswered. Now, part of the reason for this is because of the big influx in the number of Americans who were jumping into Social Security and currently are. So that could be Social Security Retirement, Social Security Disability SSDI, Supplemental Security Income SSI, survivors, as well as really all the different iterations of Social Security program. But these shortages are leading to backlogs, delays in folks getting their retirement benefits, their survivors benefits, and really prolonging how long the process time is to get disability benefits or SSDI. But luckily, there is some talk out there about ways to get more money into the Social Security program to help them fix this problem. So we'll talk about that today. And also, I wanted to talk about one group of folks, in fact, millions of Americans in the United States who will actually never, ever be able to get Social Security benefits, no matter what they do or how long they wait. Now, this is Michael's Matters, and before we get to it, if you like these videos, if you find them interesting, if you find them helpful, or hey, if you at least find them useful, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because it does really help the channel to grow, and we are super thankful for that. But also, you get notifications when our newest and most informative videos become available. All right, now, let's get down to the video. So first up today, let's talk about one of the major issues that the Social Security Administration is facing that is currently affecting millions of Americans. And no, I'm not talking about the trust fund running low, and that's not good. I'm also not talking about the benefits getting cut or the program getting privatized or anything like that. But one of the biggest issues that they are facing right now is funding and staffing, and really more specifically, funding for staffing. According to a recent report by the Office of the Inspector General, the OIG, which is the government entity that runs the actual staffing side of Social Security, like, they hire and they fire folks and they pay the electrical bills, those guys. According to the recent report, because of things like understaffing, retirements, and increased calls on February 22nd and February 23rd last year at the peak of the problem, 80.4% of all calls into Social Security did not get answered. And the ones that did get answers, on average, they waited 46.3 minutes. Now, important to remember is that these numbers are averages. So maybe some folks waited 10 minutes and others waited an hour and a half. In the report, they also mentioned that the best unanswered rate during the reporting period was at 32.3% of the calls that didn't get answered, with the average time to a call being answered at 13.5 minutes, which is still pretty high. I mean, even at its lowest. I mean, if we compare it to a similar entity, covered California, that's the California Health Exchange in 2023, they had a total number of abandoned calls at 1.34%. And then the average total call length was 19 minutes and 53 seconds for the entirety of the call, not just to be answered. So yeah, sure, they're not exactly apples to apples, but they definitely are lemons to limes. Either way, it's still pretty bad, I guess is my point. One of the other main reasons given the report for such an abhorrent wait time and service levels is because of the hardware that the administration is using to answer these calls. Things like broken hardware, software glitches, and server issues. Of course, the first indicator that Social Security Administration was not really on the leading edge of technology is when you can notice that they are still using that paper with the holes on the side in their printers and like the green and white stripes across it. Oh man, that's some vintage technology. Now, even though they are basically still using the equivalent of rotary phones in the digital era, it's actually not a laughing matter. The AARP recently released a statement saying that they believe that the level of customer service at Social Security is so bad that it is dangerously inadequate. Where it particularly becomes actually dangerous is around disability benefits that have seen a substantial increase in delays for people to be able to qualify for their SSDI benefits, which can truly be a life or death situation. In a letter to the House Committee on Appropriations, the acting commissioner of Social Security, Kilolo Kijikazi, which is a pretty amazing name, let's be honest about that, acknowledges much by saying that, quote, we must address the significant number of people who are waiting too long for important disability decisions at all levels of the disability process. In particularly, we share claimants' frustration about waiting over 7 months on average for an initial disability decision. We are confronting historically high employee losses, especially in the DDS departments that make the medical determinations for initial disability claims and reconsiderations and conduct medical continuing disability reviews, CDR, end quote. Put a finer point on this, in 2022, according to Social Security's own operating budget, it was taking around 206 days on average for a person to get a decision for their disability benefits, which is 96 days longer than it was in 2019, or 87% longer. In that time frame, potentially disabled Americans are left to fend for themselves, to pay for their health care, to pay for the housing, to pay for their medication costs, all really while not being able to work. Really, it is super unnerving to see this program that they have paid into, and really all of us have paid into, and are in a situation where they are now trying to use it and being left out in the rain. But luckily, there are some changes and funding that are being proposed and additional staffing that should help alleviate some of these problems, but we'll have to see how that turns out. On the flip side, though, although extra wait times for benefits could be frustrating and can be dangerous, there are still around 2.7 million people in the United States who will never, ever be eligible for Social Security benefits, regardless of how long they wait. These are folks who, because of some very specific personal situations, fall through the cracks of the Social Security safety net program. Like any system, Social Security is pretty good. In fact, it's one of the most popular programs in the history of the United States, but it still doesn't help everybody. This is because Social Security benefits are primarily designed around a work history. To be eligible for Social Security benefits, generally somebody has to have paid into the system for a minimum of 40 quarters or 10 years. We pay into it, you and I, we pay into Social Security through a payroll tax that takes the money out of our checks every time we get paid. And in fact, it's one of the reasons why the money that we get paid looks very different than the money that we actually put into our pockets, because some of it goes to the Social Security program. But for the nearly 68 million people who are on Social Security benefits successfully, it works out to be a pretty good arrangement. These folks, though, unfortunately, are left out. So we're going to start with the smallest group of folks who are the Social Security never benefits individuals. The first group is those folks who never actually make it to the minimum Social Security retirement age at 62 years old, as they decease prior to reaching the minimum retirement age. They represent about 1.2% of that 2.7 million never benefits group, and for obvious reasons, they're unfortunately not able to claim those benefits. The next group of Americans, who represent 13.4% of the 2.7 million people who are never going to get Social Security benefits, are those folks who work at state or local governments. So this can be people like teachers and firefighters and police officers and senators, maybe, who are able to opt out of Social Security instead for a private pension program. So once they do retire, they draw from their government pension rather than from their Social Security benefits program. It would actually be very interesting, and I was thinking as I was putting together this video, what would be the comparison in benefits between one of these kind of private pension programs for police and firefighters and teachers versus the Social Security Trust Fund. So yeah, I think that might be a video here in the future. The second largest group, at 39.6%, are made up of folks who didn't ever work enough time in the United States to qualify. So either part-time or full-time, so they didn't have those 40 quarters or 10 years paying in. This can happen for any number of reasons, but usually because they have familial obligations that don't allow them to work, or because they have not been able to work, or they worked under the table for the entirety of their career. So it seems pretty good short term to do that, but in the long run, it's going to cost you someone Social Security benefits. Lastly, the largest group of folks who are never going to get Social Security benefits are legal immigrants to the country who, because of living in another country, never had enough time to pay into the system for that minimum 40 quarters or 10 years. This is very, very common for older parents, for example, or relatives who get brought over to the U.S. By their children or their brothers or sisters or any other members of the family, relatives, but immigrating later in life, they just don't have enough time paying into the system to qualify for Social Security, and that is the largest group. Overall, thinking about the issues that the Social Security Administration is facing right now is pretty absurd, really. I mean, this is one of the most important agencies in the United States. It provides benefits for literally millions of people right now and hundreds of millions of people into the future. It just doesn't make sense that they are still operating on a budget that is basically from a pre-iPhone time, and they're using digital technology that, let's face it, barely is even considered technology at this point. The underfunding is a shame. And the worst part about it is that these inefficiencies, these understaffing, and this bad technology are frustrating for most people who are interacting with Social Security, folks like you and I. But for those who are living lives that depend on it, somebody who's waiting for disability benefits, somebody who needs their survivor's benefits after the breadwinner in the family passes away, someone who needs to get their Social Security number fixed so they can get benefits like food stamps and housing and all those kinds of things, they all get affected by the inefficiencies of the organization. And the saddest thing, if I can put my tinfoil hat on, is that I think that in the bureaucratic system that we had, this could be sort of done on purpose, because legally they can't leave needy people in the lurch. But if things don't get processed in time and people fail to complete the application because it's too onerous for them to do it, then it's less people on a program that is struggling already to stay afloat. I know the people at Social Security, they are good people. They are trying to do their best. I believe that. But my gut feeling is that somewhere deep down in the bureaucracy, somebody's looking at the benefit numbers being paid out and wondering if really do they need to be more efficient to get more people into the program when being inefficient saves them a lot of money. Sad, but true. All right, so this has been Michael's Matters, and I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And if you did, if you found it helpful, or if you found it useful, or hey, if you at least found it interesting, please don't forget to like and subscribe, because really it does help the channel grow, and we are so thankful for that. But also, you get updates when our newest and most informative videos come out. So for Michael's Matters, I'm Michael, hoping that you take care of yourselves, take care of others, and have a happy, healthy day.